Hey everybody, this is Puka bringing you the finals of the Coral Springs, Florida City Championship, the second of many tournaments from the Florida Marathon, and we have a different matchup here this time. On the left we have Harrison Leven playing a Chandelure Vileplume Dodrio deck, and on the right, Luke Reed is playing, once again, Durant. So, 2 days in a row, Durant is in the finals, and we'll see who comes out on top on this one, because it is quite a different matchup. Of course, the big thing about this matchup is that the Chandelure deck plays Vileplume, and that shuts off trainers, the big one being Revive. So every time a Durant gets knocked out, it's nearly impossible to get one back. There's only one way, which would be Flower Shop Lady, and that is very slow. So getting Durants back after they've been knocked out is not easy. So if the Chandelure player can actually get Vileplume into play, and then start knocking out Durants, it becomes quite a favorable matchup. But one thing to note is that people can tend to blow this matchup out of proportion, as we did see Luke start with a Rotom, and actually has a pretty poor start since he wasn't able to devour on the first turn. But people tend to think that, oh, Vileplume, that means Durant loses to that. Well, in reality, this is a really close matchup. What you'll see is, even though the Chandelure player can get a Vileplume out quickly, they also need a way to knock out the Durants quickly. So, you actually do need both Vileplume and Chandelure out. And even if you do get them out, if you don't get them out quickly enough, you can still lose to Devour. Devour can discard plenty of your stuff, but Vileplume does make it annoying with Trainer Lock for Durant to really do anything. Their hand kind of clumps up after a while. Fortunately, they don't really have much to do besides Devour, so it really becomes a race to how quickly can the Chandelure set up, and can Durant get enough Devours off before the Chandelure deck sets up to make it where even if they start knocking out Durants, it won't matter. So we did see Harrison start off with a quick Eek. He started with Jirachi, which was bad. But if we take a look at his hand, he did have a Rare Candy and a Vileplume, so he's going to get a very, very quick Vileplume. The quickest you could actually get it. Turn 2. So, Luke actually plays a Dual Ball and gets double heads. So he's going to be able to search out 2 Durants, which is really nice for him. You know, he couldn't have asked for anything better off of that. We'll see whether or not he has any energy in his hand to actually devour this turn. And it looks like he doesn't. He has a Collector and a Juniper, so he's going to have to make a decision. We see that Mime Jr. in his deck. That's kind of a safe play. In case he doesn't have an energy, he would be able to just retreat and use Sleepy Lost to get one into the Lost Zone and start going about it that way. That way he can still Collector for all of his Durants this turn and still start getting rid of cards from Harrison's deck. So, not sure what route he's going to go down. He does go for the Collector. He decides it's better to just get the Durants out of his deck and go that way, as opposed to getting 2 Durants off the Dual Ball and then Juniper. And it looks like he grabs Cobalion as well, which means 1 Durant is prized. So, things not going too well for Luke so far. When you look at it, he started with Rotom. He has a Durant prized, and also Harrison will get a turn 2 Vileplume, so this is looking ugly pretty quickly. The only way I can really see him winning is if Harrison struggles to set up a Chandelure quickly, and we did see there's a Lampent in Harrison's hand, so that won't be a problem either, I don't think. It's just going to come down to how quickly will Chandelure start knocking out these Durants, and it's going to be a race. That's all the matchup is. So Harrison could not ask for a better hand here. He has, look at that, Rare Candy Vileplume turn 2, and then a Collector. He's going to be able to get a couple Litwicks out, and a Dodrio, I would assume, so he can eventually get 2 Chandelures out and a Dodrio, and keep using Cursed Shadow with Chandelure, putting damage on Luke's Pokemon. And then it's actually an ability, not an attack. So you use the first Chandelure's ability, Cursed Shadow, and then you retreat to another one thanks to Dodrio, gives you free retreat, and you get to use 2 Curse Shadow abilities in 1 turn, and then normally you end your turn, since you don't really attack, by using Tropical Beach to fill your hand up to 7. So, a very cool deck when you think about it. And there we see the Tropical Beach as well. So, he's going to be able to draw 4, and Luke stays asleep. So, I don't know if things could actually go worse for Luke at this point. This is looking very ugly. Harrison's going to be able to get... He actually has 3 Lampents in his hand. Wow. So, he's going to be able to evolve both of those Litwicks, and then eventually get Chandelure, I would think. So Luke just goes ahead and plays a Juniper. He doesn't get a whole lot of good stuff, but he doesn't get an energy, finally. He did Mischievous Trick, and Durant was not the top card of his deck, so it's still in the prizes. It's going to be a struggle to get Durant into play. He needs to get that 4th one before Harrison knocks out the Rotom. That'll be a big deal. So, he has 4 prizes that he has not seen yet. He's going to use Mischievous Trick every turn and go for it. And he actually has to use Tropical Beach because Mime Jr. is asleep still. This is one of the drawbacks of using Mime Jr. You could stay asleep twice. And it looks like he stayed asleep 3 times actually. And now Harrison got those 2 Lampents, and he's just going to decide to eek. He had a Sage's Training in his hand, but he decided it was better to just not play the Sage. And oh wow, Mime Jr. stays asleep again. That is one sleepy little baby. It does not want to wake up, and that is just probably going to cost Luke the game completely. We are on turn 3 or 4 here, and we have not seen a Devour yet. Normally Durant wants to start using Devour on turn 1, 2 at the latest, and now we're 4 turns in, and he hasn't used Devour a single time. So this is probably worst case scenario for the Durant deck. And Harrison's gonna eke to draw 6. Now he did have a Sage's Training before, and he decided not to use it because he would get decked out, and oh wow, 2 Chandelures in his hand as well. So could not imagine much better start from Harrison here. You could see Luke shaking his head. What else can go wrong for him here? And I really don't know. Once Harrison gets Dodrio, that'll be the final piece. You gotta think that Luke is just going to get steamrolled here. There are so many cards left in Harrison's deck that Luke will not be able to win via Devour. And Harrison's gonna Tropical Beach again, trying to find that Dodrio, and he doesn't get it. So, Mime Jr., on the bright side, finally woke up. He's late to the party, but he showed up at least. And now this is quite an uphill battle for Luke. I really don't know what he can do. He's going to Mischievous Trick, try to get that Durant, and this will be the last time he'll be able to use Mischievous Trick because Curse Shadow will knock it out next turn. And we do see another Juniper. I think maybe one of the ways Luke could have had a small chance was if he powered up that Cabalion that we saw earlier and just honestly started trying to knock out Chandelures. I don't know what else he can do at this point. He's going to Devour for 3. And nope, nothing great. He was hoping for a Dodrio there. And Harrison does have a Seeker in his hand. I'm sure Harrison wants to draw this Dodrio right now so he can just start using 2 Curse Shadows every turn. The other option will be he'll have to use 2 energy attachments to retreat the Chandelure manually, and that's not very efficient, but I think at this point he has a pretty comfortable lead. He has plenty of cards left in his deck, and pretty soon he'll start knocking out Durant. So he did make an interesting decision right away to target down the Rotom instead of going after the Durants. Not sure why he did that, but maybe it was just to prevent that Durant from coming out of the prizes. He figured that was a bigger priority. Normally against Durant you just want to target down the Durants, so Devour does less. It discards fewer cards every turn. And like I said, Vileplume shuts off Revive, making it so you really can't get the Durants back efficiently. So here's a Devour for 3. See, Luke's still shaking his head, and there's the Dodrio. So, things are going very well for Harrison at this point. I can't envision him losing the game anymore. He'll be able to use Curse Shadow twice every turn. He's got a ton of cards in his deck left, and pretty soon Durants are just going to start falling. He knocks out the Mime Jr. as well. We do see a Curse Shadow. He's going to put one on every Durant. That way it ensures a knockout next turn with 2 Curse Shadows. And honestly, if you're Luke, all you can do is sit there and shake your head because, I mean, what could be done about this? Everything went wrong this game. He started with the Rotom. He wasn't able to devour turn 2. He had to use Mime Jr.'s Sleepy Lost. And then he stayed asleep for 2 more turns. So the first time he got to use Devour was turn 5, and by that point Harrison already had everything set up. There's nothing he could do about it. So here we go. Devour for 3, and it's going to get ugly pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke just kind of gave this game up. You can see he's just kind of bitter about this game. Everything is going right for his opponent, everything is going wrong for him. But this is what can happen sometimes. Nothing you can do about it. Thankfully, it is a best 2 out of 3 match, so it's not over yet. We could see Luke win the next 2 games. For this one, though, he's pretty much done for. There's a Devour for 2. You know, that's not going to get the job done. So Harrison's going to put 3 on the active Durant. Seeker, he's going to force Luke to pick up the bench Durant, and then Curse Shadow the active for a knockout. So that'll be a very quick game 1. You usually don't see Chandelure decks win that quickly, but the turn 2 Vileplume, and then by turn 4 he had 2 Chandelures in play, and then eventually Luke just could not deal with the constant pressure, and once Vileplume gets out, you can't revive your Durants. So that was game 1. Hopefully we'll see a little bit better of a game 2, and we'll be right back with that.